I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence. Roll call.
Councilor Coast.
Here.
Councilor Estrada.
Here.
Councilor Huner.
Here.
Councilor Chamberlain.
Here.
Councilor Sturts.
Here.
Councilor Fry.
Here.
All members are present. We have a quorum. Mayor Shaw is absent.
Approval of the prior meeting's minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion moved by Councilor Fry and second by Councilor Estrada. Councilor Fry.
Yes.
Councilor Estrada.
Yes.
Councilor Huner.
Yes.
Councilor Chamberlain.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilor Sturts.
Staying on one and voting yes on the other, so I'll just put it down as abstain on both of them.
Okay. Okay. Councilor Coast.
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries.
You can do names of individuals wishing to address council. Mr. Gilroy, are you wanting to address council and introduce yourself, or
I'll just quickly introduce myself, I guess.
did I just throw you under the bus right there? Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I'm Ed Gilroy. I'm the director for the Fulton County Economic Development Corporation. So I just wanted to stop by and say hi, introduce myself, and afterwards I'll give you my card. If you have any questions or comments for me afterwards, I'd greatly appreciate it.
How long have you been on board, Matt?
I think this is day number 44.
44? All right. You're not counting them, are you?
Okay, anyone else wishing to address council? Committee reports. Tree Commission.
Wauseon Tree Commission met on October 9th, and they had some discussion on memorial trees to be planted this fall. Kim Bowles reported that she submitted a grant application for 86 trees to be used primarily at Homecoming Park. And Tom Savage also reported that he's moved about 40 trees from the mall property, and he thinks he's about half done with what we're going to be doing there. We had some other various discussions about other things, but nothing to report on.
Okay, thank you. Park Board?
Yeah, we met on October 14. We welcomed in person our newest park board member, Paul Harmon. We had a visitor, Gail Lowry, came in to speak to park board about the installation of a sort of like a ski lift, tubing lift out at Homecoming Park to get kids with special needs up to the top of the hill for sledding purposes. And there's some concerns about who would man the lift, insurance, ADA compliance, things like that were mentioned, and park board members are going to look into those issues in preparation for the November meeting. Dave Murray said have someone, his concern was about manning the lift. Following up from our previous park board meeting, there was a triangular area out at Biddle Park that member Carol asked about landscaping, and we had discussion about that again. And it is a fairly large triangular area, and Dave Murray suggested that maybe it'd be a good spot for a memorial or a decorative rock, maybe in tribute or in memory of Don Matthews, with landscaping around it as well. Dave Murray said they're still planting trees, and Bill Drummer told Park Board that Rotary is planning on fencing the ball diamonds yet this fall. Rotary may be short on funds, and we'll see about borrowing from the Wauseon Rec Association. That is all according to Bill Drummer. And we came out of the Park Board meeting with no recommendations for council.
Any questions there? Okay, Finance Committee, we met October 13th. There were a couple of things that we discussed. The first one was ARS came back to the city of Wauseon asking for a tag increase for our garbage tags. And the reason being, it didn't have anything to do with the changes that we've seen that have taken place with the tags. It has to do with the joint solid waste district had adopted a new fee of $2 per ton on all solid waste effective October 1st. So this has already been in effect. They knew that there was a potential increase for that, but they didn't know until they had their public hearings and things like that. So they were virtually given about 30 days notice to deal with that type of thing, their increase and their costs that they were going to see. They came in, Michelle Ryder was here, she explained some of the things that they were looking at. The other villages were also going to be affected by this. The fee that they had talked about was a 20-cent per tag increase. Martina Strata looked at some of the numbers and came out with a question as to why that was so high. And there were some calculations that were done, and he met with ARS again. And Martine, you can chime in anytime you want if I miss something here. But basically, it was they came down from 20 cents per tag to 4 cents a tag. And Michelle has provided a letter here for all of council to look at that states that they're requesting a 4 cent per tag increase rather than that 20, effective October 27th. So, do you have anything to add to that?
No, just the estimate was off because they were putting some extra figures in for the amount of garbage that was being dumped from different construction sites, and then the average bag size was off by about 400%. So that's why the increase was so high on the get-go. But based on the average bag size that they have printed on their ticket, that's where the 4 cents came from. It was basically the increase divided by the poundage multiplied by the average bag, and that's what we came up with, 4 cents.
So ARS was very agreeable to working with Mr. Estrada here, and they have made a couple of changes in addition. You can buy fewer tags at a time. For those people who don't use, 2 or 3 tags a week, you can buy a smaller quantity of tags. I think she said 1 sheet of tags is going to be 5 tags per sheet instead of having to buy 10. And then that was pretty much how we left it with the 4 cent increase. Now, council made finance was going to make the recommendation to accept the increase at 20 cents for ARS until Martin did a little more checking on the numbers. So we can either go ahead and make a recommendation to move forward with this at 4 cents, or we can send it back to the Finance Committee, which if you'd like to do that because there's more questions or things like that, we can certainly do that. But otherwise, we can whatever council feels more comfortable with.
4 cents is a lot better than...
Yeah, I don't really see no reason to send it back to finance, but...
I ran the numbers off, and I told them the most I'd sign off on was 4. So I think to go back is, for me, we're not going to get any more out of it.
Was this just our contract, or was this contract because the landfill was doing the added
It's
fee?
state mandated whenever.
Right, with the landfill.
Yep, with the
So was
landfill.
it just our contract that they were moving forward with, or is this all entities? So are you the only one that found this mistake with all these entities?
As far as I
This
know,
is
I'm the
all
only one who's found it
entities that
right
they're
now.
working with.
I'm assuming when this goes public. That
But I don't think all villages use the tag
Tags.
system. Yeah, so
I'm not aware of other villages,
I don't,
how
yeah.
they do it.
I don't know either.
Well, they have the containers.
But like Martine said, he took care of the
Yeah, I just want to
Wauseon
focus on
situation,
Wauseon
so-
for right
Very good
now.
find.
Yeah.
I'm not asking, I'm just surprised no one else
Do we
has
wanna
found
do
that
this all
increase.
this separately because we also have the investment policy.
Sure. Why don't you present the recommendation on the investment policy, and then we can decide whether to do those. I assume it would make sense to vote on those separately.
Okay.
Probably the idea would be to just not accept the recommendation of the Finance Committee to approve the 20% increase, but then make a separate motion to because the Finance Committee has made a recommendation. Council would not accept that recommendation, but on its own make a motion to accept the 4 cents. And then all but accept the Finance Committee's recommendation if it's so inclined on the investment policy.
I'd make a motion not to accept the Finance Committee's recommendation.
I second.
On the, with respect to the increase for ARS,
Yes.
proposed increase.
Except not the investment policy.
Okay.
Motion moved by Counselor Chamberlain and second by Counselor Estrada. Counselor Chamberlain?
Yes.
Counselor Estrada?
Yes.
Counselor Huner?
Yes.
Counselor Sturts?
Yes.
Counselor Fry?
Yes.
Counselor Coats?
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries.
I did the
Now
letter.
you-
Martin,
Do you
wanna
want the
make the
4
motion?
cent?
Yeah, I move to pass the 4 cents.
Second.
Motion moved by Counselor Estrada and second by Counselor Huner. Is there any discussion? More discussion?
Job well done, Martin.
Thank you.
Counselor Estrada?
Yes.
Counselor Huner?
Yes.
Counselor Chamberlain?
Yes.
Counselor Sturts?
Yes.
Counselor Fry?
Yes.
Counselor Coats?
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries.
The other thing we talked about were the Glenwood Avenue assessments. We have, those assessments were placed on landowners for improving their property when water and sewer lines and that road went in out at Glenwood. The period of time that they had to pay the assessment, it's 20 years. The landowners are checking to see if that can be extended, and they've been working with Mr. McWaters to see if that 20-year cap can be extended. And it can be extended up to 28 years, and that was based on a weighted average as a percentage of what you can, how much time you can allow for payback for the sewers, the streets, and that type of thing. So we didn't feel, we wanted to make sure that we heard from the landowners as well, and that's one of the things that we had asked Mr. McWaters to send invitations or call landowners and see if they would meet us, and that meeting is going to be on November 11th. So we didn't move to do any action with that. We would like to meet with them November 11th, so.
So you're saying that Finance is suggesting that we go to the 28th, and you're going to present that to the
No,
landowners?
Finance is not suggesting that yet. We are not suggesting anything at this time until we meet with the landowners to see. Some of the questions were, A, has anybody started paying back that assessment fee? It's $9,500 per acre. So, you know, I mean, is that something that anybody has started to pay back? Are people trying to sell their land? You know, what is the landowner's perspective on this? Because everybody signed the agreement, they had attorney representation, so we're just kind of wondering what their perspective is. So that's why we would like to meet with any landowners or hear any just feedback on November 11th. So
We're not moving forward on the approve the City of Wauseon investment policy, or yes?
yeah, I haven't made it
Oh,
to
we
that
haven't-
one
been
yet.
up
We're
there
still on
yet.
the
Okay, good deal.
Glenwood Avenue assessments, but again, that meeting is November 11th at 11 a.m. with the property owners, or they can send in some kind of correspondence that we can at least read. So do you have any questions about that? Because then we can move into the investment policy. The investment policy was the third topic of the finance meeting. Jamie Jagger distributed an updated investment policy. It went from one page from 1985, when it was created, to 4 or 5 pages that she took straight from Ohio Revised Code that we should have in an investment policy. What we need to do then is just approve the acceptance of the updated investment policy. And y'all have a copy of that too in your packets.
So this is something generated by Jamie?
Correct, yes. And based on Ohio Revised Code, what they suggest we have in policy to protect the investments, and it's kind of a standard operating procedure. There are certain investments that Jamie would have to take classes to be able to invest in those particular pools, I guess, of investment. schools.
Is this time sensitive at all?
She didn't say that it was, no, she didn't say that it was time sensitive. However, she's got a part 2 to it that she'd also like to get us to approve later on, but finance has not met about that one yet.
She described any kind of investments that she can't make under the current code?
It's spelled out in code, yeah.
I wouldn't mind having a little more time to look over it. I've been focused on this trash thing for the last couple of days, so.
I wouldn't mind having Jamie here to sort of summarize this for us as well.
So we can table it until the next
Until Jamie's
council meeting?
here.
Okay. And that was it for finance. The other thing that Jamie wants to talk about is the debt and liquidity reserve policy. That's the next thing that she's working on.
Did you need a motion to table this, or?
We've sort of informally just tabled them before, I think. If you want to formalize it, you can do that.
I
But
mean, if we don't need one, but
it's just sort of laying there, and at some point you'll want to do something with it either way.
And then Jamie also gave us the 2015 draft budgets that we are to look over, and our budget meeting, again, is going to be on November 11th. And that's it for finance, unless anybody has questions. Utility Committee.
Okay, utility committee met Thursday, October 16th. We had like a 5-year plan of water rates, sewer rates over the last 5 years to where we could get different projects done, like the water tower painted and different work that needed done at the sewage plant, the treatment plant. And I think throughout the course, there was one time we did not raise, like it was on the schedule. We got looking the figures over, and we feel that everything's going good, and we decided not to raise it in this last scheduled rate that was supposed to be effective 11/1 this year. So our recommendation is not to raise the water and sewer rates, but just look it over every year to see where we're at so we don't get behind.
Looks like you thought things were going to get feisty because Chief Torbett was present.
Nikki's president already.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
So we need a motion to eliminate the last scheduled water and sewer rate increase, so I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion moved by Councilor Coast and second by Councilor Sturts. Is there any discussion? Councilor Coast?
Yes.
Councilor Sturts?
Yes.
Councilor Fry?
Yes.
Councilor Chamberlain?
Yes.
Councilor Huner?
Yes.
Councilor Estrada?
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries.
Department head reports.
Heather,
David?
one second.
Sure.
Did other council members get a lot of pit bull
We
literature?
did,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
the video.
And Meg, who's on safety and code? Do you know off the top of my head? I think I am.
I am as well, I
Okay.
believe.
So before we all depart, I think we'll probably need to schedule a safety and code meeting and talk about
I think
the
we
issue.
maybe ask Brian to come in for that too, because he's had dealings with these.
I'd say we probably have a discussion about it before we bring them in,
Well,
just to figure out where we stand on it.
Yeah.
I think he's familiar with all of this stuff too. So the police chief
Yeah, that way we
information.
keep it from being one side against another.
Yeah.
I'd rather just get our facts straight first. Well, that way it's,
Are you requesting this person to come in
what's that?
that sent this information? Is that
No,
what you're saying?
there's a lot of different people out there
Yeah.
that have been sending the information.
Okay.
Yeah, along with our state
Well-
representative, who was the one who passed it in the Ohio state legislation,
I think-
which lives in Monclova, which is oddly enough very, very close to us.
I think as a committee, if we consume what we've been provided, have a little discussion about it, and then maybe later on have another meeting where we invite some folks in. And I don't know if anybody else has gotten a movie. I got a movie
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I
so-
watched the movie and read the reports.
I didn't get one.
So,
I have your movie.
It's all in the office, isn't it? Didn't you have a bunch of packs of it in the office, Meg?
One for each council member.
Yeah.
Except I had,
Yeah,
well,
the state overturned the
yours is
ruling
in
in
there.
2012, but it left it up to municipalities for their own ordinances. But now it's a question of, is it constitutional? And I think Cleveland, Cincinnati, and a couple other larger cities have already flipped it over. I want to say like 20 cities have changed over to where they've changed the law, and there's like another 30 or 40 who just haven't yet. But it's completely up to the city itself. Every city has its own, can make its own law on how they see
So-
fit.
with no guarantees, maybe it's time to have a discussion again about the dog issue. So,
You take the movie home tonight and say, kids, I got a movie.
yeah, yeah. Don't have to return it to Redbox.
Stop out the,
Okay, David.
No real news to address as it refers to the downtown revitalization grant. Still working with building business owners on commitment issues with moving forward with that. Would just like to reiterate that we are in the very preliminary stages of moving through that grant. So if any building business owners in the target area have any questions, they can contact Fulton County Regional Planning Commission. We're located in the Western District Courthouse in the basement. Also did have the opportunity last week, Tuesday and Wednesday, was invited by the Ohio Development Services Agency, which is the office at the state level that administers the community development block grant programs. Was able to sit on review board in an advisory capacity. Two boards that I sat on were the allocation program, which is like the funds that the county would have allocated. There's a set amount, no less than $75,000 that's established at this time. Those programs might change a little bit, but it's the same program where the competitive set-aside grants, which the downtown revitalization grant is considered set-aside. So there might be a shift in percentage of how those monies are allocated locally. They're focusing more on quality of projects and applications that are submitted to the state, so there may be an opportunity for more money to be funneled up locally instead of just allocating certain amounts there. There's going to be a little bit more work to be done at a local level based on quality of applications, quality of projects, things of that nature. Also sat on the economic development, which is, you would know it as the revolving loan fund. So sat on that board also in an advisory capacity. So there's some changes possibly that are coming down the pipe, but nothing negative that I noticed, all positive. Still trying to continue that good rapport with the state. I think we're doing that. I've also talked with Michael Kinninger. He is an ODSA rep for our region. He's filling in for Michael Novikov, who was our rep, but just recently resigned for a new position with the city of Columbus. So hopefully we can get him up here before the end of the year. He can talk further regarding downtown revitalization and revolving loan fund, things of that nature. That's about it. Sure.
Well, did Chief Corbett give you anything to say, or did he just want you to sit in his seat?
He just asked me to sit in his seat. He didn't give me anything to report today.
Okay. Anything that you want to report, just
No.
for fun? Okay. Got an open mic right here.
Question, do you happen to know when the next labor negotiations are for
Next year.
2015?
Chief Sluter is in Columbus. Tom?
We're just maintaining. Tom and I have a couple of issues that we may or may not end up in court with on a couple housing things, but that's what we're concentrating on right now. He can elaborate on the process of it. That's it.
234 Sycamore. Do you remember that address? Is that in compliance now, you think, or do you know? Or
They've cleaned a lot of the stuff out. I mean, they're still repairing some of the issues on it. They still have, they're a far cry from being 100%.
okay, they're in the right direction. You think,
Yeah.
huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know you're going to get to this, but the Utility Committee's recommendation is formalized via the ordinance that's in front of you this evening, 2014-13, which in effect does away with the water and sewer increase. On October 8th, I spent a very full day in Perrysburg for ODOT's very first local public agency training day, and received this lovely book with all kinds of steps and that we have to go through and things we have to comply with, because the Linfoot Street project has some federal dollars in it. A lot of super good information, also lots of work, but one of the reasons why free doesn't always mean free. On the Linfoot Street project note, I do have a, which is reflected in the budget, an updated guesstimate of just under $2.2 million for the total project construction cost. Our projected share of that would be $818,000. A lot of that will come to us as far as entering into agreements and what have you with the contractor next year. Some of that cost can be delayed until 2016 because of the schedule of work will go into 2016. So as it comes to some engineering, some inspection, construction inspection, some of those costs can be deferred till the following year. So.
And Dennis, when is that slated to start, that project again?
Physically start in the fall of next year.
So the fall of 2015?
Yes.
Okay.
And they'll concentrate on the underground utility work through the winter, and finish up in the warmer weather suitable for paving in 2016.
Well, it should be cheaper because they ain't got to tear up much asphalt.
That's correct.
Cobblestone, maybe.
Well, you don't know what you're going to find underneath. When we did Shoup Avenue, we found some corduroy roads, some wooden road.
There's some on Depot too, I think, corduroy under there.
That's all I have.
You still working with the residents on that road? You haven't pre-locked yet to get through?
I am not directly working with those folks. Our consultants, O.R. Cohen Associates, they are to have the direct contact with those people. But yes.
They're in town this week.
Yeah, I'm sure you've been contacted.
I talked to them again today.
And just to reassure folks that have businesses along Shoup, I mean, if you're affected, you've already been invited to the table, correct? If you're affected by this, a Shoup, yes. Because there's some business owners that have come to me as saying, is it going to extend to the frontage of my property along Shoup?
Oh, yes.
And if you're going to be affected, you've been invited, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. All right.
Yes, it's almost just the four properties on the intersection: ODOT, the abandoned marathon station, Kaufman Door, Cars, and Tiny's Dairy Barn, partially.
So working with Tom on the two sort of nuisance complaint issues, the first dealing with the house on Cedar Street with the garages that are falling down. We have filed an initial complaint, and I'm hoping that we can just get the folks who own the house to agree to allow the city to come in and knock them down and then reassess the cost of that on the real estate tax duplicate. If not, then we'll get an order from the judge which will allow us to do that eventually. The other matter is there's a mobile home in Timber Creek that had an issue with cats, and we're working on that, and we have actually a deadline of today, I think, for the mobile home to be removed, and if it's not removed, then we'll probably look to the owner of the park to do that, to get that out of there. It's pretty much been ruined by the cats and whatnot. Also made contact, was asked to make contact with Clemens and Nelson to get some information on the cost of having them take a look at our compensation plan and scales that we have set forth in the code. They did they worked up the compensation plan back in the early 90s, I guess, and I guess the thought is it's time to take another look at that. So I made initial contact with the fellow today, and we'll get him some information, and then he may want to meet with folks from the relevant committee and move forward with that. And also just want to say, I want to thank the folks in the community who so far have shown a lot of support for this upcoming week's Rotary auction. The town's always been great, and actually the outer line communities have been great in supporting that. And I think, as most people know, the money currently is going to, the money that's raised goes to finishing the ball field. So just want to put a plug out there too for the Rotary auction this Saturday.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
Okay.
10 a.m. till how long?
Oh, jeez. Stop selling about midnight.
All right. Moving on, first reading of legislation, ordinance 2014-13, modifying the rate schedule for water and sewer rates for the city of Wauseon and declare an emergency.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules and declare an emergency on ordinance 2014-13.
Second.
Motion moved by Counselor Huner and second by Counselor Sturts. Is there any discussion? Counselor Huner?
Yes.
Counselor Sturts?
Yes.
Counselor Fry?
Yes.
Counselor Chamberlain?
Yes.
Counselor Estrada?
Yes.
Counselor Coast?
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries.
Final passage.
Second.
Motion moved by Counselor Chamberlain and second by Counselor Sturts. Counselor Chamberlain?
Yes.
Counselor Sturts?
Yes.
Counselor Fry?
Yes.
Counselor Huner?
Yes.
Counselor Estrada?
Yes.
Counselor Coast?
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, ordinance 2014-13 passes on emergency and is now in effect.
No second or third reading. New business. We need a motion to accept the reappointment of James Barber to the Charter Revision Commission for the term of July 1st, 2014 through June 30th, 2017, 3-year period.
Anybody check with him? Good. I'll make that motion then.
Motion moved by Counselor Chamberlain and second by Counselor Fry. Counselor Chamberlain?
Yes.
Counselor Fry?
Yes.
Counselor Sturts?
Yes.
Counselor Huner?
Yes.
Counselor Estrada?
Yes.
Counselor Coast?
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries.
Okay, approval of the bills.
So moved.
Second.
Motion moved by Counselor Huner and second by Counselor Sturts. Counselor Huner?
Yes.
Counselor Sturts?
Yes.
Counselor Fry?
Yes.
Counselor Chamberlain?
Yes, ma'am.
Counselor Estrada?
Yes.
Counselor Coast?
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries.
Just one thing before we adjourn, the pool surveys are still online until October 31st, and we will accept them through October 31st. If you're going to mail them in, make sure they're postmarked by that date so we can start putting all the data together. So thank you to those people who have sent in their surveys and voiced their opinions. We appreciate the time that they took to do that.
One last question for Tom, I almost forgot. Tom, is the mayor during labor negotiations with the police union, is the mayor actively involved in that?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Have we set a date for the vacant council spot and how we're going to fill that?
Oh, good one, Martine. Yes, we need to, we had talked about that as council earlier, if we wanted to go ahead and have the process stay similar to what it has been, because we can determine what the process will be. We can appoint somebody from the community, from the city. We can open it up and have people apply for the position, which is historically what we've done, or the mayor can appoint. After 30 days, the mayor can appoint. So what we need to do is decide, do we want to follow that same process? Martine was, we had a lot of good candidates when Martine was chosen and when Jeff was chosen. But I think we talked about opening it back up so that there would be more potential interest, maybe more people sending in their resumes, so to speak.
And simply out of respect for Counselor Estrada, who wasn't able to hear those interviews as well. So I would side with opening it back up and collecting applications.
I think that's what we had discussed. Is everybody still okay with that process? Do we need to make a motion for that or anything?
Yeah, maybe we should pinpoint the dates that were discussed, how we were going to do that. I think if council were to approve that the idea was to have the opening published in a newspaper up through, if I recall, the 31st, with applications due on the 7th. Does that sound right, or do I have the dates wrong?
Well, I had, I heard prior October 31st, but I can change that.
Applications due the 31st?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, yeah, if I misspoke. But
When does the
you were
30-day ticker start up?
November 3rd.
not, yeah, November 3rd, not until, presuming Mayor-elect Huner submits her letter of resignation for...
I already did.
Oh, you did, okay. That
I
would
was
be-
surprised that it wasn't read. Yeah, I did.
Okay, so that would be effective on the 3rd, so it wouldn't even start ticking until, so it'd be December 3rd, I guess. So then, and then I think council talked about scheduling interviews on the 5th and the 6th, does that sound right? The evening of the 5th and then on the 6th?
Yeah, we were talking about a, I think a,
Wednesday evening and a...
yeah, and a Thursday morning. Yeah. So then interviews would take place Wednesday evening, Thursday morning, Wednesday the 5th in the evening, Thursday the 6th in the morning.
So those would be special council meetings to interview.
We haven't seen those dates yet, have we, Meg? These dates that we're talking about, we're just,
It was gonna, October 31st at 4 p.m. was the time.
deadline, okay.
Yeah, the deadline. And then, I think it was tentatively the first or second week in November.
Yeah, I think it was just discussed informally.
Right.
yeah, because
Yeah.
the 5th I'm not available.
Okay.
I would like to be present for those.
We need to make sure everybody's present, so, but I would like to do an evening and a morning, so I don't care what, as long as everybody's,
The 5th, the evening on the 5th, I'm not available.
okay.
I mean, that could be the morning day, and then Thursday be the evening day.
But Thursday.
I'm good on any day.
What, Thursday would be here? That morning or not?
No, that would be after
That's
the
not-
first council meeting, so you wouldn't be here on that.
All right, so I guess it really,
So we could just flip-flop that, have the 5th be the morning, and have the 6th be the evening. That works for everybody's schedule. And Meg can send that out, and we can,
And it's possible we might
Verify.
have to free up more time depending on the number of applicants.
hundreds,
Yeah,
hundreds might apply. Okay, so we'll go with that. So can we have a motion to approve the process as discussed? Is that good enough? for a
Yeah,
motion?
Yeah, Meg's got the dates right.
And then the final verdict on the 17th, I mean, when we make a decision on, because I know when the interviews are, the 5th and 6th, I just don't know when we're making a decision, the deadline.
Well, I think last time council actually voted at the end of the 6th, but that, you could set, if that wasn't something that was feasible or desirable, I think at that point you could set a separate, if you wanted to do a special meeting to,
Because we just have to
Discuss
have
and-
it formally approved prior to December 3rd.
Yeah, but we don't want to push it too close.
No.
Right, but that's our deadline. I mean, we can't work any past that, so.
I mean, would it be comfortable to say to make a decision on it, a special council meeting on the 13th, the day of a committee of the whole meeting?
I'd second that. I think that should be plenty of time.
Sounds good.
November 13th, special.
so are you saying that you would wait until the 13th then to vote? Or that would be a sort of an extra day if you needed it?
Deliberation, decision, and then have them sworn in on the 17th? Would that be fair? Or sworn in, I don't know.
I'm good with that. Everybody okay with that? That still gives us plenty of time. Okay. All right, so-
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay, no.
The
Go ahead.
last thing, Tom, I just didn't know, through this whole process, if you were at all concerned about the charter in the event that, you know, our mayor leaves, council president doesn't want it, and then if nobody on council wanted it, I think we discovered that there's nothing after that as far as steps to take.
I think that's right. The code doesn't provide, the charter doesn't provide any clear direction on what would happen if there was no person that was voted to be the next
Is that
council
code or
president.
charter?
That's the charter,
Okay.
yeah. So in that event, we'd either have, I mean, there would be 2 or 3 options. There would have been 2 or 3 options, and we probably would have done some research to figure out which one would have. So you could have, I suppose one option would be that there would be no, the council president might continue to preside in the absence of a mayor. The other might be to have a special election.
Sure.
I mean, those are the options that came to mind.
But maybe we can.
I think that's something we need to look at with the charter revision committee too, because there were a couple different things that we wanted to look at with the charter
You need to write a letter.
revision.
Maybe this would be a good
Those
time
things.
for you to piggyback. If we're going to change a charter for this, maybe change the charter for the council president only vote once while acting as mayor. All right, thanks, Tom.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make that motion to accept the recommendation for the process of
Oh, yeah, we haven't done that yet.
appointing a council member to the vacant seat.
Second.
Motion moved by Counselor Coast and second by Counselor Chamberlain. Counselor Coast?
Yes.
Counselor Chamberlain?
Yes.
Counselor Strata?
Yes.
Counselor Huner?
Abstain.
Counselor Sturts?
Yes.
Counselor Fry?
Yes.
5 yeas, 1 abstain, motion carries.
Okay. Adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Yes, thank you. Make motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion moved by Counselor Chamberlain and second by Counselor Sturts for adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.